Welcome to Ceol Uibhist, North Uist Sound Archive.
What we're trying to do in the museum is provide a centre to celebrate our culture, our heritage, our traditions. There's a danger of it being pushed into the background. So it's important that it sits up there on the digital stage along with everything else.
Welcome to this video which introduces the North Uist Sound Archive. This has been made as a collaborative project between Carinish School, Taigh Chearsabhagh Museum and the University of St Andrews. The archive brings together music, songs, stories of North Uist, creating a gateway and repository which features music from Ronald, stories told by school students, Caitaidh music and spiritual music. In this video we'll hear from Norman MacLeod, Mary Morrison, Catriona Black, as well as myself, Iain Oliver, and my colleagues at the University of St Andrews, Álainn Miller and Catherine Cassidy. This archive, however, is the beginning of a journey which aims to identify and preserve home recordings, tapes, video, film, photographs and other materials from within the local community. Undoubtedly, there are many priceless items tucked away in drawers, cupboards, lofts, sheds. We hope that new discoveries will ensure that the story of Ceol Uibhist will continue to evolve through the works of the Carinish. During the video we're going to look at three subjects: some of the treasures that are in the archive, the different ways in which we can get access to the archive, how it is possible to add items to the archive, and more details to the archive. The archive contains recordings of music, stories and sounds. We will now look at some highlights of the content contained within the archive. Examples of the type of music in the archive are psalms, pipe tunes and local compositions. Non-musical entries are stories, interviews, introductions and speech. There are songs sung by Mary Lang and Doireann. There are tunes played by Aida Black and John Angus McInnes. There are stories by Aida Cambell and Carinish School children. There are stories and music recorded at Digital Face, as well as stories and songs from other exhibits and events. This is an example of a psalm performance recording stored in the archive. This is Psalm 103 verses 12 and 13, sung by Reverend Ronald Morris of Bayhead. This is Ceol and Fiddle played by Calum, Iain, MacCorcodail. Aida Cambell talks about Shoemaker forms which she brought to Digital Face 1 where the story was recorded. The shoe forms were scanned to create a 3D model.
These items were found in the garden of our house. I came to North Uist 53 years ago and learned that the derelict house had been the house of a William Ferguson who had come from Chalaín to live on the island and to be the shoemaker, the cobbler. He married a lady, Lexi McInnes, from Tuath, and the house was very unusual at the time because it was in 1938, it was fully 2 stories high.
The archive also contains images which are associated with people, performances and recordings. Here is a 3D model which can also be stored in the archive. This is Mary Morrison's Seedpod which she brought to a Digital Face.
Well, we think this is a baobab tree seed. I found it in the house after my parents died, and the story of it is, I think, that my father, who was a doctor, he trained in Edinburgh and loved tending the physic garden there.
This video is a story about St Kilda, telling of a time when the inhabitants of St Kilda were afraid of strangers and were then burnt to death by outsiders.
Sé Ceol Uibhist tachartas uamhasach a hachad bhuachan ata a ha ag Caitaidh. Va tickle is na hirstí gan dícig bachta ganist agus go falaige lua.
Long ago, the people of St Kilda were afraid of strangers because they thought they would harm them.
During the Digital Face, there was a digital ceilidh which involved several recordings of music being made. This recording was one of those, with Doireann Marks and Caitaidh MacLean playing Farewell to Nigg and Itchy Fingers. This video is a theme for Barpa and Feannag, composed and recorded by Peter Cooper with drone footage from UistFilms for the Uist 360 exhibit.
Looking at the screen, I mean, it's obviously a touch screen. We've got 2 elements in there. We've got the temple at Tuath, one of the first universities in Scotland. You can go into various rooms in there. You can press the little button and it will give you information about different elements of music. The other one that we have is a reconstruction of the old Carinish Hall. And you can also go in there and get music, piping, photographs of the music on North Uist.
Recordings can be attached to sites in the archive which are then visible on maps in the archive. There's a front page map, which includes many of the points. It is also possible to group points together in layers to include in maps that can be created in the archive. This point has recordings from the St Kilda exhibit.
Hindala hare ha, hindala la, hindala hare hare, hindala hare ha, hindala la. Atliska hasabala serishin ganatos na paege sukkasuri kizemanya, hindala hare ha, hindala la, hindala hare hare, hindala hare Indalala. Katarina Prayusa Dritta Srutangani, Hatikituna Hayangana Hayatuchitani, Indalahari, Indalala, Indalahari, Harari, Indalahari, Indalala.
This point has entries recorded at the Carinish Primary School during the digital phase.
As more information becomes available, more songs, old cassettes, old CDs, old books, this can all be added to the model. I think this could be available to every other island to record their own dialect, their own Gaelic and their own history of music. But it can also go European or worldwide for collecting the music and culture of these other areas. I think this digital model is very, very important worldwide. There are a lot of expats that have moved to Australia, America, Canada, that maybe have got songs that are letters that can be added to. And now if we don't get that out to the larger audience, we can't do it physically without them visiting the island.
And part of the outputs of the project is an exhibition that will be touring the Western Isles and the West Highlands in 2024, starting in Museum Nigg in Stornoway and travelling to Portree, Lochmaddy, Ballallen and Dalaborough. And that will be an exploration of the various different kinds of spiritual singing, and also a bit about the history and the context of that spiritual singing within communities in the region. There will also be a website with information about the project and various publications, including a CD publication, which will be on sale as part of the exhibition. I found out about smart heritage and the virtual world's ways of exploring and presenting digital archives within the exhibition context when I went to see an exhibition about the music of North Uist in Lochmaddy and Taigh Chearsabhagh a couple of years ago, and got speaking to Alan Miller about the possibilities of including and incorporating a digital archive within the exhibition part of my project. And we are now developing that exhibition material, all the sound recordings from the interviews, all the sound recordings of the songs, to incorporate that into the exhibition through a 360-degree tour and a computer, which will be a screen, which will be in the exhibition, through which you can explore the archive within that kind of context of the landscape.
The North Uist Sound Archive is a living resource, collecting contributions from the public. If you are interested in sharing your recordings, images, videos, or digitized objects related to North Uist and the Gaelic language, you can upload directly to the archive using the website. An upcoming video will show you how to upload your media step by step. Look out for the next video and visit the Sound Archive at ceol.scot. Thank you for watching.